Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for stopping by today. I hope that you're doing well in these strange and uncertain times that we're living in, and I trust that wherever you are, you're staying healthy and staying safe. In this video, we're going to be comparing two Casio ProTrek watches that have two different names, but if you look at them, you say, what's the difference? They look like the same watch. The first one is the Casio ProTrek PRG 600, and the second one is the PRG 650. On the surface, they look the same, and honestly, right off the bat, most of the differences between these two watches are aesthetic differences, and we're going to point those out in this video. But there is one major function difference between these two watches, and we're also going to highlight that so you can know the difference when you see these online, when you see them in a store and you say, which one should I get? That's why we're comparing them today. So I hope this video and comparison will be helpful to you. Let's get into it right now. Well, here they both are. The PRG 600 on the left and the PRG 650 on the right. Before we get into the differences and similarities, I want to do a quick wrist check, because I'm really excited about this piece that I just got, this Alpina Seastrong Heritage Diver. And I just love everything about this watch so far. I've already done an unboxing, so I hope that you'll check it out after you watch this video. And then stay tuned for a full review of this beautiful compressor style dive watch from Alpina. While we're comparing these two watches today, I want to start off by throwing up some specs up on the screen. I'm not going to talk too much about it and go through the list, but you'll notice that they're pretty much the same in every area as far as the specifications go. The difference you see is with the movement. The PRG 600 has a 5497 movement, whereas the PRG 650 has a 5545 movement. And I actually went and found the manuals for both of these, and I looked them up and put them in a document comparison tool on the internet to find out exactly what the differences were between these two movements that Casio is using in these watches respectively. And so the information I found was few and far between, but that one major function difference that we're going to talk about was in those module papers. And so we're going to get into that closer to the end of this video and talk about that major function difference to these two watches. Let's talk about the similarities real quick. Both of these are triple sensor watches. Those sensors are held over here on the left side. Both of these are tough solar, so the battery is constantly being recharged by artificial light as well as natural sunlight, so that's a great feature. They're both ABC watches, altimeter, barometer, compass. They both have world time functionality, temperature, recall functions, stopwatch, timer, alarms. Both are 100-meter water resistant. They have analog time as well as digital time that you can see here, and these two models both have negative digital displays. There's mineral crystal on these watches. I've already chipped mine up here at the 12 o'clock position, and they both have screw down crowns. Now these watches, the 650 line and the 600 line, come in a variety of different color schemes. So I'm going to pop in some here on the screen just so you can see some pictures of the different 600 models and the 650 models. So there's a lot of different color options to choose from. But then, just as I was making this video, I found out that Casio has come out with two new special models. So I'm going to throw those up here so you can see them. They're quite unique in their color schemes and really nice pieces. So I hope to do a video on both of these watches, kind of just announcing them and showcasing them from Casio's website, but there they are on the screen. But we're going to talk about the differences now between the PRG 600 and the 650. Apart from the color differences, we're not going to mention anything there because obviously we know the color schemes are different, so no mention of that. But as we look at these watches, let's start out with the printing on the dials. All the differences here have to do with the dials of these watches. So you see on the 600, it's just ProTrek at the top, and then they put Casio at the 3 o'clock position, whereas on the 650 it's ProTrek and then Casio directly under it. But over here at the 3 o'clock position, they've added the words triple sensor on the 650. They both have WR, water resistant 10 bar, above the digital display, although the 600 looks as if it's a little bit bigger than that writing on the 650, which is just something to note. Obviously, one of the first things that catches my eye with the 600 is the large numerals at the 12, 3, and 9 position that you don't have on the 650. That's one of the major differences between these two dials. The 600 has those numerals, 650 doesn't. 650 has a large triangle at the top and a large square at the bottom. And you can see there's even differences between the indices themselves on these two watches. The outer square indices on the 600 are a little bit larger than the outer squares on the 650. And then these indices that slope down into the dial, they're very geometrical. You can see their shape on each of these watches, but they're not the same. The ones on the left here with the 600 kind of are cut off as they reach down to the dial, whereas the ones on the 650 slope down even further and kind of slide more in to the dial in certain places. Also, you'll notice here down by the digital display that these indices are cut off to not cover the digital display at all, and they actually cut off the 6, which I don't really like the look of that. But over here you see the indices are not cut off at that angle, but they actually overlap that digital display just slightly. It doesn't cover anything up, but it's just something to note about those indices. The chapter ring, at first I thought was exactly the same, but you'll notice on the 600 here on the left that there's kind of two levels to the chapter ring, and this one has kind of a drop off. So there's like a top level and then it drops off pretty sharply there, whereas this one is sloped down more. But they each have the same writing in the same places along the inside of that chapter ring there. On the dial, over here there are a handful of 24-hour markings that you can see. You don't get that here, but instead on the 650 you get the numerals for the 12-hour time that are placed on the dial there. So those are some differences that I see about the dial. Now we're going to get into a little bit of a lume comparison and a light comparison. And the light function is where these two watches part ways. So let's shut off the lights and look at the lume and the light. Well, here's a quick lume comparison. The PRG 600 on the left again and the PRG 650 on the right. You can tell the PRG 600 has more lume overall because those numeral indices are lumed, and the 650 doesn't have those. Plus, those larger outer indices make so the 600 has more lume than the 650 on my right. Well, let's check the LED light function on the 600 on the left. You can see what that looks like there. Basically lighting up the digital display and then the dial. And here's where you're going to see the difference with the 650 and the major function difference between these two watches. You can see that there's some interaction there between the indices, and actually some of the lume changes color on the hands from green to blue because this light is a different kind of light, and they call it a neon illuminator on Casio's website, and so it interacts with those indices in a unique way. So that's where these two watches part ways, and that's the major difference between the two. For the PRG 600, Casio says it has a full auto double LED, and then for the 650 they call it the neon illuminator and say it has phosphorescent processing LED light, and so that's what causes those changes of color and different things that you see there. Also, something that I wasn't able to show in this video is the luminescent band on the 650, but you can go and see my full review of this watch to get some more detail about that. It's really a unique feature as well. Price on these watches, you're going to be able to find them both for anywhere from $200 to $250, maybe a little less sometimes, maybe even a little bit more than that $250 mark. And the different styles vary in price as well. But I'm going to leave links in the description to both of these exact watches and where you can find them, and then also to the other models in each category as well. I'm going to share my verdict now back in front of the camera and let you know my final thoughts between these two wonderful Casio ProTrek watches. Well, there you have it. That's the comparison between the PRG 600 and the PRG 650. And honestly, the differences are really just aesthetic, as we mentioned at the beginning of this video. And these are essentially the same watch. And so the dial layout and the differences that are found there, I really think are a matter of preference. You have to decide for yourself which dial pattern you like, which style you like better. And even that light function, the regular LED on the PRG 600 or that neon illuminator is really a matter of preference as well. Maybe you like the regular LED as opposed to the neon illuminator. I don't know. It's really up to you. And it just comes down to finding a style in either one of these watches and color scheme that you like. There's a multitude of them. We showed you some pictures in the video, so it comes down to, I think, personal preference. For me, I like that neon illumination on the PRG 650, and I like the dial layout and style of the 650 over the 600. But the 600 is what I bought a few years ago because of the color scheme. The brown color scheme was what I was looking for, and so that's why I'm keeping this watch, and I'm going to be actually selling this one eventually. But they're both great watches, just a matter of preference. So I want to hear from you guys. What do you think of both of these watches? Which one do you prefer, and why do you prefer it? And let me know if I missed any differences between the two watches, somehow overlooked something, forgot something. I'd appreciate you letting me know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful in any way, please give it a like and please subscribe to the channel. It's going to be helpful to us, and I hope it'll be helpful to you, because we try and put out videos that are informative, and we review watches and different other things as well, and we're trying to be a help to you. So I hope that you'll subscribe and help support us in this endeavor. Thanks for tuning in to J City Reviews. We'll see you in the next video.